New Backseat critique. I know it's been a fucking ages since the last one,
Ages
but
and
you know,
ages.
I blame Teddy.
But you always do.
Yes, I have
He
to
had
blame
nothing to
Teddy.
do with it. He doesn't even live here.
It's always Teddy's
doesn't.
fault. Crap, I'm sitting on a sofa.
It's been a very long day.
Yes.
There's been a march on. They've been marching back and forth through the town.
Took us about 40 minutes longer to watch the film because they kept having.
Yeah, we
fucking
actually had to like pause the film in the middle because there was a huge, like, several fife and drum bands going by at maximum volume.
Yes, Northern Ireland.
We get it. You're marching.
Anyway,
This
is a Backseat critique from a patron. All night long.
All night long. All night. That's all I could think the entirety of.
Now,
I went to look up the IMDb page and I googled it and I got the Lionel Richie lyrics first. So
there's a couple of interesting things about this. Okay, based on the cover. Okay, look, it's fairly abstract, and Patrick McGoohan is in it. You know, it's 1960s and it's black and white. So I naturally assumed it would be something to do with spies because you know, as far as I was aware, Patrick McGoohan, all he did in the 60s was spy stuff. So I was absolutely confused when it turned out to actually be about jazz. But look at this. And here, somewhere down here, you've got like guest stars, as though films have guest stars. And they don't actually mention the biggest name in the guest stars, who is Richard Attenborough.
yeah, but he's like a main character though.
I know, but it's like, why are there guest stars?
Because they're the musicians. Like Dave Brubeck, he's a famous enough jazz musician. Even I've heard of him. So basically, well, the beginning of this is like some guy's like warehouse flat, and he's having a huge jazz party. Now these like musicians show up like, hey, what's crack? Oh yeah, let's go sit up here. And I said, is this like when famous roller skaters show up in like Tony Hawk games, and you're meant to be like, oh, it's so and so. And then we looked it up, and apparently like there's a huge list of really famous jazz musicians playing themselves. And, like, when, like, Dave Brubeck shows up, I'm like, I know that I've heard of him. And he's, like, really, really, really famous. Well, he's passed away, but...
Yeah, well,
so
everyone involved in
basically,
this,
like, if
except
we
for
were...
Delia has passed away.
Oh,
She's apparently still alive.
but, like, apparently, like, if we were really, really jazz, like, I can't believe they got so-and-so to play themselves. And there was this guy that was, like... Well, his name was Paco, but I think that was, like, racist. But he was Brazilian, and he was a bongo player. And he was only there, like, literally, I feel like he was only in the movie because I said to your man... We're making this jazz movie. Do you want to be in it? Sure.
It's like the movie Freaks, where you have, you know, these interesting people turn up just so they can do their act on screen.
Or like the movie Dave with Kevin Kline, when like all those, you know, actual DC pundits and lobbyists and stuff and show up playing themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, this one, it's about jazz, and it's all set in one location.
Before we say anything else, it was kind of had this Hitchcock thing going on because we thought it was going to be a murder mystery. We're like, oh, it's going to be like
because everyone's in one place,
like a Thin Man, Nick and Nora, Charles, like whodunit kind of thing.
And because it was the 60s and there were several interracial couples, and we were waiting for the racism to happen.
We really were like, and like both
you know,
both of the African Americans in the mixed relationships were American. So they technically really were African American. You have to watch that. It's really hard to do because I'm so used... When I was little, I was taught, never say black, say African American, that's polite. But you can't say that in the UK because people aren't American.
There are African Americans in the UK,
black
but,
folks,
but they're people who moved from America. Like, what do you call him? The guy who sang War, What Is It Good For? He moved to the UK and he settled there to live in Nottingham.
Alright. So then he technically would be African American.
Yeah.
But then somebody else, like who? Oh, there was some sports guy. I don't remember if he was a footballer or like a track and field person. It was around the time of the London Olympics, and he kept getting interviewed, and people kept being like, "So, as an African American, how do you think about this?" And he's like, "No, but I'm English."
There was an American saying that to him.
Oh, okay.
And he kept saying that he wasn't African American. Yeah.
Alright. So you gotta watch that. I learned that over here.
I remember about 10 years ago or 15 years ago, there was an attempt to make Afro-British a thing, and it never became a thing. At least it never took off in the mainstream.
Like, here's the thing, it's like, so if your family's been in the UK since, like, the 1400s, like, you really can't be, like, you know, Afro-British because you're just British at this point. Like, it's...
Well,
maybe, like, if your parents were from Africa, fair play, but, like, or the Caribbean or something, but, like, the Windrush generation, maybe?
Well, far as I'm concerned, if they moved over, they're British.
Alright.
You know?
So, I feel like that's kind of, like, a weird thing to do.
It feels like a little bit of a sop to the very many racists we have in the UK to say that they're not just British, that they're, you know, prefix British, while the white people are just British. Like we have one of our big fish and chip shops in our city is called Fiorentini's, and it's run by an originally Italian family. And I wouldn't say they're Italian British, I'd say, or Italian Irish. I would say they're British / Irish or Northern Irish, whatever. It doesn't matter where they originally came from.
Folks. But anyway, so yeah, so that was the shoe we were waiting to drop, and it never actually did either of them. There was no murder. It was almost a murder.
Yeah, and then there was, the other thing I noticed was, this is basically like...
Everyone smoking.
You have a bunch of musicians and, you know, people being bitchy and hip and stuff in a isolated sort of upscale flat type thing. So this reminded me of The Boys in the Band, but like a really heterosexual British version of it from the 60s. Well, you know, instead of smoking cock, they were smoking cigarettes. And
here's the thing, too. So, because, like, I associate jazz with the jazz age in America, so it had a very 30s vibe to me, even though it was done in the 60s, and you were saying that it was because...
Oh, I'm guessing that because it was made in 1962, jazz had become safe enough to do like a big film about. But rock was still sort of rebellious enough that they couldn't really do this sort of film about rock. So they were like, what's the closest thing to rock that we could do with this sort of upscale, with musicians sort of film about? So they chose jazz. Like 10 years later, Patrick McGoohan, the star, he directed a film, very similar film, about rock music. So it's like it took about 10 years for them to be able to do it with rock. But like jazz was popular in Europe for decades. I mean,
I know.
In World War II.
Swingers and all that kind of stuff. And wasn't there a huge jazz scene in Berlin in the 20s? It
was so big that the Nazis, they created their own Nazi jazz. But because they couldn't stamp it out, it was so popular.
There will be no accidentals. You will play by the keys. Okay, I went off about jazz because here's the thing. I was in both the varsity and junior varsity jazz band in high school, and I don't like jazz. I'm not good at it. I was in the marching band, I was in the concert band, I was in the orchestra, and, you know, the jazz bands, and I played the trumpet, by the way. And what I really don't like about jazz is like, okay, so someone will write a piece of music, and they'll choose a key signature. Okay, this is going to be in key of C, or like B flat concert major or something like that. But then they'll have chosen a key signature. And if you don't understand music, at the beginning where the treble clef is, or the bass clef if it's a bass instrument, there'll be the little sharps or little flat indications of whenever there's a B note in this I'm explaining to you too. Whenever there's a B note in this music, it's a B flat. Just assume that's the key that this is in, fine. Fair play. Fair enough. And that's usually fine for most people. Like, oh, I choose this key to write this piece in. But jazz is full of fucking accidentals. Accidentals is where like, oh, even though I said every B is a B flat, this is B natural this one time. Okay, and this time too. Okay, and this is a C sharp. And I'm like, just fucking change the key signature right in the key signature you mean to use. I was rubbish at jazz. I can't improvise. So we might have been not the target audience for this.
Anyway, the jazz
anyway,
there was a huge scene in Berlin. A lot of American jazz musicians moved over to Berlin. They sort of
I remember why, because the Nazis would stamp out accidentals.
Yeah, well,
because the Nazis, the capo al coda.
I won't explain.
Go on.
So it was quite interesting. I read a couple of things about, you know, Black people's experiences in pre World War II and World War II Germany. One of them, an excellent book, is called Hitler's Black Victims. I bought it at the Holocaust Museum. But I seem to recall one of the reasons they went to Berlin in particular, apart from just it was really popular there, was because Berlin didn't have the same horribly racist laws that America had. Obviously the Nazis changed that. But the Nazis banned foreign jazz. And they tried to ban it altogether, but it was just so popular that they created their own homegrown jazz, and it was very unpopular. People bought it. Jazz fans bought it just for appearance's sake, but then they got black market jazz from other countries.
So now I'm wondering if there's like going to be like a new American jazz movement that springs up and they'll just call it alt jazz.
Anyway, it took about 30 minutes to work out what exactly this was. I mean, I was like...
And then you told me and I was like, oh,
I think I know what this is, so I looked it up. And it was a retelling of Othello.
And I was like... And actually, I think that's kind of cool because I I think that people are like, oh, Shakespeare sucks and I can't understand it. And I think that the value in Shakespeare, contemporarily speaking, is how you interpret it. Like, I've seen a version of Othello put on at Swarthmore College that looks like it was set in the 50s in, like, fascist Italy or Spain or something like that. Because everyone had, like, really sharp fascist uniforms. I was like... But so I think it's... Okay, excluding that movie Titus by Julie Taymor, because that's really fucked up.
I love Titus. I'm going to do a review of that.
I've only seen Titus once, and it was at a party in the very late 90s or early aughts, and it was at my friend's house, and, well, her parents' house, really, and we'd been drinking and smoking, like, all night, and we finally sat down to watch this, and we were all just like, what the fuck? What the fuck? Is this Shakespeare? Where did he's got a car! Is that Alan Cumming? The fuck? Wait, why did that happen? Oh my god, why is there a deer? Give me the bottle. And we just passed around a bottle of Jack Daniels. Just...
Kyle Calgren did a video about that. And see, I always assumed that what they were going for was the Shakespearean thing of anachronisms, because Shakespeare is full of anachronisms, because people of Shakespeare's day did not know much about the past, so they set everything in the present. So they had, like, Caesar listening to a clock, stuff like that. So I assumed the anachronisms in Titus was to do with that. But
Julie Taymor just got it from mine. Not that she's mentally ill, she just had it from mine.
Owen Citizen's idea, I don't know if this is something that he's got backup for or it's just his interpretation, is that basically it was attempting to be all eras of Italy at once. Which I thought was a fascinating take on the film.
The kid with the cereal and his cereal breakfast gets carpet bombed. Just go watch it if you don't know.
Anyway, but this one...
But it was really clever, and I liked that about this movie.
Yeah, that is a benefit of Shakespeare, because you know what the words are, you know what the plot is, so it allows you to experience the directorial part of a film more purely, because otherwise you got to follow the script and everything, and that's like the blueprint, and then this is just the style, and because you compare it to other Othellos, and you just concentrate on the visuals rather than the words. But you can concentrate on the words or the plot.
Aye.
Please tell me you know what I mean.
Something that's important, like, and not to plug Barnes & Noble, but I'm gonna plug Barnes & Noble, is that the Spark Notes series that we did, we have and if you're young enough that you're still in high school, you might want to take advantage of this. It's the No Fear Shakespeare line, and it was a really easy sell because they were like $3 or $4.99 each, and they had the Shakespearean original English on this side, and then translated into contemporary English on the other side. So, you know, like, do you bite my thumb at me? I do bite my thumb, but, you know, like, you know, are you calling me out? Are you disrespecting me? And parents would be like, you've got to be kidding me. I'm like, no, and they're real cheap, and they just, like, buy all of them. So that's you. Just go on and buy it. Like, you won't be sorry. But it's very well acted. Yeah. I was like, Richard Attenborough.
Richard Attenborough. Welcome to Jurassic Park.
Yes, before he...
Jurassic Park.
Before he invented dinosaurs.
Yeah.
That was your joke. I stole it.
Yes. This was, and at the end when he's going to get revenge on the Iago figure, and he's like, I'm going to invent velociraptors just to feed you to them.
It is so bad. Like, I feel kind of bad for his character, because he's like, oh, I'm going to have this great party for my two friends and their anniversary, and then someone almost died.
I like jazz.
Yeah, he does. He's quite well off. He's called the Honorable so-and-so, so he's got to be at least like a lawyer or something like that, or...
I think lawyer is learned, but yeah, it means he's got some sort of important job or qualification.
He's loaded, like, you know, and that they make that very clear.
Honourable might mean he was a mayor or local government rather than MP, because you were wondering if he was an MP, and I'm like, no, that's
right honourable, right?
Yeah.
Unless you're Theresa May, she has no honour.
Technically, she's still the right honourable. That's
Klingons would say she has.
That's why I was like, you know, Corbyn should have called David Cameron before he quit the right honourable member for animal husbandry.
Pshaw. Is he fucking the pig's head? But no, that didn't happen in this movie. I feel kind of bad because a lot of times when we get a backseat critique request from a patron, and it's something like really crazy or really out there, and I'm imagining that the patrons at home like, aha, Hagen will never have, I wonder what she thinks about this one. Or if it's like an okay movie, you wonder if it's like their secret favorite, you know?
Yeah.
But then like, I really want to know, like, is this like a really hardcore jazz fan? Were they like really into Shakespeare? Did they just see this one and think it was cool?
My guess for this, and please tell me I'm wrong.
They know about how much I deeply care about the
is that they were like, well, this film, I need to get a backseat critique. This one's got Patrick McGowan. Hagen seems to like British things from the 60s. It's black and white. It's It's got jazz, it's got Shakespeare. This is a mad mix. Let's see what Hagen thinks. That's I think what it was. I mean, it was decent.
Speak up in the comments if it was.
It's decent. It's fine. It's good. The Othello guy looks like Ernie Hudson playing Lando Calrissian.
He really did though, because he's got the jerry curl and everything.
I won't be doing a review or anything. I don't anticipate watching it again.
It was good. I mean, like I said, I think we would have gotten more out of it if we were jazz fans, because there was a lot of like extended, like, jazz numbers. And we had to put on subtitles halfway through because, like I say, the march kept going back and forth. Yeah. So it was really, the subtitles were really great. It's like, trumpet menaces. I'm like, no, it doesn't.
Gentle music.
Yeah. Or it was like, you know, extended drum intro begins. And I'm like, well, that's a good thing we know it's going to be extended drum intro. But, well, that was pretty, I mean, it was, like I say, it was good. It was done on a soundstage. I picked up on that and then felt clever with myself.
Yeah, their bits were on location. Like, I'm pretty sure one of the location bits, like the exterior, like, sort of alleyway for the building, that I'm pretty sure that was in Resurrection of the Daleks and Peter Davison's Zero Doctor Who. I'm pretty sure a Dalek was kicked out of one of those buildings, like, from the top floor and, like, thrown down. I'm pretty sure I've seen that street before in Doctor Who.
In Jazzerite? They had these like weird little like not quite bow ties, not quite cravat things going on.
It was like a really short bow tie that went up this really thin, and then like that would have immeasurably improved Peter Capaldi's costume, because a done-up shirt to the top with no tie looks ridiculous and stupid. I mean, like, the point of not wearing a tie is that you undo the top. So give him one of those.
No, because it had a little snap in the middle. Because at the end, your man, his was come off, so you could see the both parts of it. So it looks like they went around like that, and then crossed like that, and then snapped in the middle.
Yeah, so
I've never seen this thing before in my life.
Capaldi's costume would have been so much better if he had that.
See, I wish I lived in the era where you just like wore like kind of a tux to everything. Like you just went out with like Brylcreem, like perfect hair, and like in a tux with your tie, like gloves and everything. Why wasn't I in the age of glamour?
If you want to do that, you can just, I don't know, impersonate Spider-Man in Spider-Man 3 when he goes to the jazz club.
No. I just want an excuse to dress really nice all the time. I say, as I'm in, you guys can't see this, but I'm in matching Lonsdale hoodie and trousers just because it's what I had around, so I really do look like a chav, so I'm like, I want to wear a tux.
Spider-Man 3 was badly missing.
Is that the one that he went goth for a while? I went to go see that with my friend Zach, and I was like, why did you drag me to this? He's like, I didn't know it was going to be like this.
It badly needs Patrick McGowan with a personality disorder.
Speaking of Julie Taymor, when we went to go see Spider-Man 3, we saw the trailer for Across the Universe, which made me want to go out and see it when it came out. Oh. It's like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Except
do you know the other connection with Spider-Man she has? She created and directed...
Into the Dark,
yeah. Turn on the Dark, Turn off the Dark, whichever, honey, the musical.
Honey, I'm a long-time viewer of RDA. Of course I know about it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It was a frequent topic. She's in a sweater. But I mean, I feel bad because I always, like, try to anticipate what I think the patron expects us to say, and I feel bad because it was good. I mean, it's really nice, and everybody was smart. Oh, they did this thing where they're like, he's like, oh, I'll leave you be, and he's... The Iago character is in, like, his host's library or something, and he pulls out a joint. And I was like, everyone's gonna know. Like, you can't hide that kind of smell. And then she's like, well, they're jazz musicians. They all smoke weed. And I said, that's not the point, though. The point is that he had some, because he offered some to the host, who was like, no. But like, you're supposed to share. It's a social thing.
My point was, since statistically, most of them will be smoking weed, so... The chances are he's not the only one who's smoking weed in that room at that night.
Yeah, but then it was impolite.
So you won't be able to tell.
Like,
so
offer.
They won't be able to be all
also,
like, Patrick McGowan, you smell like weed. Why aren't you giving it out? It's like everyone smells weed, so it's just like they won't be able to tell who smoked and who's not.
The one thing they actually did get right is one of the characters has mental health issues, and he actually should not be smoking weed. Well, okay, not he should not. If he's psychotic, he shouldn't, because that can be pretty bad for you. But so that was the only like. Kind of part that was kind of right.
Yeah, that guy looked like Quentin Tarantino crossed with Harvey Dent from The Dark Knight.
He had like, it looked like he never had an upper lip and he had a translip. No, I'm not saying that he was, like, he just had a very thin upper lip, but... Also, in Europe, they do that really gross thing of like, oh, you got a joint? Oh, but it's half tobacco. And you're like, oh, Oh, this is great. So lovely. So probably do the English song. Because tobacco's nasty. I don't. What is that supposed to be? Gollum in a coffee house? Like
impersonation of you.
What? I don't sound like that. Anyway, I hope it was all you dreamed of and more, Patron.
Although I got a couple of things to mention at the end. Okay, first.
Blink. Oh yeah.
I have this, and it has been requested by a patron. I cannot find the message which says if it's a backseat critique or a full review.
You need someone to organize your shit.
I do. But so, if you requested this, please let me know, because
we were gonna watch it today, but we can't remember if it's a backseat critique or anything. Okay,
yeah,
I
didn't want to do a backseat critique if it was a full movie review. Apart from everything else, then I would have to, force her to rewatch it for notes. And she's like, I don't want to watch a movie twice.
Well, because unless it's something you like, but like the thing is, if you like it, you're not gonna watch it again like a bit later. I mean, the only exception is you go and see a movie and it's really great, and you were like, we went and saw Doctor Strange twice.
Yeah.
Because it was really, really good.
So, okay, if you requested this, let me know. Preferably over Patreon, so I can confirm, so it's not just someone being like, I'm gonna troll you.
Just stand out in the street and be like, oh God, it was me!
Or there could be just people randomly talking to me on Twitter and they're just giving me different answers, like, it was a backseat critique, it was a movie review, and I'm like, oh, fuck.
I am Spartacus.
So you have to tell me via Patreon.
I was the patron.
And the other thing is, you might have noticed that we have...
Oh. She put them up there, they're usually somewhere else, and she's like, let's put these up here, and I was like, they're gonna fall on my head.
Well, you see, this is Crozier plushie, as created by Mayor Doyle, who created the Hagen plushies. And this is a Hagen plushie. Now,
Hagen plushie's been modified a wee bit.
You might have noticed the mouth. This was a present for a family friend who, she recently died of cancer, and as a memento of her, I picked this up from the house because she really liked it. She was the oldest fan of the show, and the mouth is because she did not like the way Hagen was scowling. So she ripped off the mouth in such a way to make it look like she was pursing her lips.
And then she put, like, she drew on the bottom one. And she told us too, she showed us, and she's like, she was just looking at me, and I was like,
So I have to, so this is why I've got this particular Hagen. This is one I'm going to hold on to her as a reminder of her, she was my mother's best friend. I knew her all my life. She died, she was in her mid-80s. And she was the oldest fan of the show. Although I don't think she ever watched the show, but she did like the...
She's technically a fan.
Yes. Anyway, so I just wanted to be like, this exists. And over here we have...
My head isn't the one.
It's not a real puppy. He's like breathing.
Our friend thought that it was.
Yes. It's just, it's a very realistic...
I was like, why would we leave like a little teeny tiny like puppy in a precarious place like that? I don't know, maybe. That was Robin the Minion that thought that.
Yeah. It's just a breathing toy dog.
No, I think it's not breathing anymore because I think the batteries have gone down.
Yeah, so it died when we were in the States.
So we'll have to put new batteries in. That's why I used to like the acid elite at the bottom or something.
Ooh.
So that happens with batteries. Well, it's not going to happen now. It happens over the course of several years.
Okay.
It'll be fine. But yeah, so that was all night long. Patron, I hope it was all you dreamed of and more. It was
you can watch this over and over again all night long.
Jazzy. I feel the jazz inside of me now. Like a fungus.
This was written by a guy called Peter Achilles.
Which is not his real name. It's apparently some screenwriter who got blackballed during McCarthyism in America, so...
Oh yeah.
No.
It was decent, and hope you enjoyed. And patron, dear patron, I hope this was everything that you dreamed of.
That's my line, I already said it.
Well, I hope it too.
Okay, fair enough.